Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Welcome back to the show. Doris Sumner joining us here, the president of Empowering Gender Opportunities. It's all about ego.com. That's her website. And we're here talking more about how she's empowering people with a diversity consulting company. Don't forget her book. Yeah, we're going to talk more about that today, too. And for those that may not know, I just want to mention this woman is amazing when it comes to feminism, when it comes to sexism, bias, gender equality. She does it all, and she's helped so many throughout her course of the years in the military with vets and people in general. So first and foremost, welcome back to the show. It's excited to have you here.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. And today we're on video, so I'm getting to see you.
Yes, I know. Good to see you. So you are a diversity consultant. You have a book. You're retired from the military. There's a lot to you. So just please tell us a little bit more about that, because it's exciting to know that, we talked about why the military really needs to take a lead on combating sexism. And of course, America must get this gender equality thing right as well. Don't you think?
Yes.
So
Yes.
what did you want to dive into for today?
Well, I do want to talk about, since we're on video, I do want to talk about the cover art of my book and how important that is. But first, I want to remind people that 50 to 80% of employees report that they experience sexual harassment in the workplace, and over 46% of them leave the workplace. So there is a need for a gender diversity consulting business to talk about the sexual harassment, which predominantly affects women in the workplace, because sexual harassment, above everything else, is about power relations. So just putting a plug in for all diversity consulting businesses, but especially Ego, because we do focus on those power differentials between the genders. Okay, so there's my plug. And then I'd like to showcase my fabulous book cover. I don't know if you can see it in the video here.
Yes. Oh my goodness, beautiful. Wait, hold on. And by the way, what is the name of the book? Some people may not know yet.
Yes, Life at Camp, Combating the Sexism We Tolerate, and Why the Military Needs to Take the Lead. So I'd like to think this book will stand out and attract impactful readers.
Is that you? Is that you? Is that where are you going?
What's that is not me. I will tell you how we came up with the book cover.
Sure, would love to hear.
But it's important that the art of the book cover attract people. Now, my designer, Carrie from Vermont, she really captured the cover of what you're going to read inside the book. So I'd like to ask you, what do you see what emotions are evoked for you when you see this cover?
I see. It looks like a long journey ahead. You see the sun setting, but how long is this woman going to be walking for on this dirt road in her boots? Is she tired? Is she hungry? She doesn't look like she looks like she might be struggling, or you can look at the other way. She's walking into the sunset. She's got her whole life ahead of her. She's really happy, or I don't know.
This person can be it can be a woman, it can be a man, it can be any young person embarking on a journey to find what occupation they want. What do they want to experience in life? And so my designer, she read the book. And although she had never spent any time in the military, she could totally identify with the culture that I describe and the challenges of trying to fit in sometimes where it doesn't feel good. Either you assimilate to make it work, or you push back and leave. So she was able to identify with that.
Well,
she perfectly, what you see on the cover is what you're going to get on the inside.
Yeah. And let me ask, so what ideas did you give her for the cover in particular? And did you have any artistic thoughts about the cover? So, and how was she able to get it so right?
Well, I'm so proud of it, because before I retired, like when I started thinking about a book, I knew I was going to call it Life at Camp, because I spent a life at Camp Johnson where I was stationed. And there's trillions of books, but I really never thought about how important a cover is, or the font size, or the size of the book to attract people, and how a book feels in your hands. When I embarked on the journey, not just to serve in the military, but to detail the difficulties of asking men of the military to embrace feminism, I was very clueless of how hard this journey was going to be. just like the woman warrior depicted here, she's taking her first step on a journey, like you said, and there's sunlight, okay, there's mountains out there, and she cannot really know how high or how challenging the trudge is going to be.
Yeah.
So when I talked to Carrie about the book, I said, well, let's have a trail or some mud or a boot, to depict that it was definitely a trudge that I endured. And she called me a couple weeks later. Oh, I told her about the backpack. I was like, because I talk a lot in the book about carrying our pain in a backpack. And so I mentioned that. And so I go see her in a couple of weeks. She opens up the laptop and there is the picture. And I got really emotional. Like I cried, like it was perfect. And it's not a picture of any particular woman. It's emotional intelligence, or she created the picture.
Yeah.
But it is perfect. It does reflect this journey that anyone's going to take. So I was this young tomboy, and I was truly unaware of discrimination. I grew up in the country. I was unaware. Maybe it was because I was a bad student, but even if I had paid attention in history class to discrimination, I had no real life experience with being judged.
Yep.
Or being outcast or harmed because of my race or my gender or my ethnicity. I just headed out on the trail. I said, hey, I want to be a truck driver in the Army, and off I went, not even realizing the fight that women had done for hundreds of years just to get me to have that right to join. I called a recruiter and off I went to find my life. And I love the cover. I love the book, and I'm really proud of how it came out.
As you should be. It's beautiful. And really, I mean, so important for the cover to match, what you get on the inside too. Exactly what you picture by you breaking down like that speaks volumes. And, some books though, do fool you, right? The cover and the back summary depict one thing, but then you get into the book and it's really not what you think it is. Now you told us about retired adjunct General Martha Rainville. Now, she endorsed your book. And it's on the back, right? So you could show us that. I want to hear some other reviews as well for those that may not even know, what she said. We can talk about that too. And also, you've been getting some great reviews that I saw on the website. So I want to talk a little bit about them, and even on Amazon, Goodreads.com. People are just sending you messages now, right? That's great.
Yes. I will get texts from random veterans that I served with, and I'm very humbled by the responses from the readers. The book, it's a powerful message of a trudge. So some of my friends are like, oh my gosh, Doris, like I need to take a break from this because I get so angry or upset that you were challenged so many times. And it just had so many challenging moments. And when you go through something really hard and really difficult, when you get to the other side, sometimes you ask yourself, how did I ever make it through it? And sometimes when I'm reading the book, I'll be like, oh my God, I just wouldn't even want to go back to it. I did describe some very personal and painful things that I endured as a child, and just some of the experiences of sex-based offenses that I experienced, and I put them in the book.
Well, I know that can't be easy. I know we've talked a lot about this, but if you are just tuning in for the first time today, it's really something you need to read. And the fact you put it out there for the world to read was really important to you, right?
Yeah. The book is about fighting sexism. So this attitude that one sex feels self-righteously superior to the other, and in so much that some act out by abusing others through sexual abuse. That is not an easy subject to talk about. Some of the pain requires a lifetime of healing and taking care of that pain. And some people pack it away and don't look at it. And some people have healed and they can talk about it and they can express it to others. And although my pain might seem inconsequential, like it wasn't that bad, we can never really judge people on how much, on what pain looks like. So that's why I describe the invisible backpack, because even though somebody could read my experience and say, oh, that wasn't that bad. You don't know how heavy it is for me, or how heavy it is that I'm carrying that based on other experiences that they don't know about.
Oh, well, my goodness. Can I ask you for some more feedback that you've received here with the book?
Yeah, I'd like to read this particular review that a lieutenant colonel officer in the Air Guard she sent to me, and I worked with her. She was in my chain of command, but I mean, we weren't friends. I didn't really know her that well. I really didn't know what she thought of me or the work that I do. And so when she posted this review, the boldface says significant historical perspective.
Okay.
And here's what she wrote. I'd like to read it.
Sure.
Thank you. I thank you for your years of dedication. It is obvious it wasn't easy, popular, or part of the
Wow.
command climate. It was a relief to know that you realized how much of a difference you made for the women and men serving in the Vermont National Guard. Although our careers were different and my service didn't experience what you went through, our time serving together never went unnoticed. And even though you never felt the pendulum move, it did. You made a difference. I heard you. I witnessed you, and I thank you. Your book is of historical significance, and I hope others will see the struggles that women and men experience throughout the Guard, and you made your impact. Thank you. I am sure your backpack does not lie alone.
Oh my goodness, that is beautiful.
Yeah,
Did
it
you
really is.
cry? I mean, reading that, that is
Yeah, I'm a crier
so
anyway,
touching.
so it doesn't take a lot to get me to cry. But I felt it was important when she said, "I see you," you
Yeah.
know, that my backpack doesn't lie alone. And yeah, I have received many humbling messages and reviews. So it gives me satisfaction that the book is resonating with
Yeah.
those like who didn't experience the same thing. There's a lot of good going on in the military. There's a lot of warriors who have a professional career and never experienced that. But just because
Ah,
you didn't experience doesn't mean that nobody else did.
yeah, for sure. Well, thank you for sharing this. My goodness, beautiful. Wow. Okay. We're going to take a super quick break here, right? So tell us how we
Okay.
can reach you. Do you mind sharing best form, all forms of contact?
Okay. My website, it's allaboutigo.com, is the best way to reach me. And I'm on social media under Ego Business on Instagram and Empowering Gender Opportunities on Facebook.
Perfect. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Have you ever
Okay.
rolled your eyes or screamed on the inside when a coworker or boss called you honey or sweetie? They mean no harm, right? Perhaps you don't want to be known as the employee who nags about being politically correct. Hi, I'm Doris Sumner, president of Empowering Gender Opportunities, EGO, a diversity consulting company focusing on the gender bias impeding team effectiveness. Are you a fearless leader willing to help your employees? Check out Ego at www.it'sallaboutigo.com and let's build synergy.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Doris Sumner back here joining us today. Excited to have her here, excited for her book, and so glad you are joining us here again today and promoting the book. Amazing. We got to hear some of the testimonials of people, reading the book, which that it has to make you feel so proud, right? I mean, could you just share
Yeah.
how long it took you to write the book again for new time listeners out there?
Yeah, well, it's been a 4-year project. I mean,
Mhm.
actually writing the chapters was pretty much a year, and then cleaning it up and getting it legally reviewed and putting it into a format that it could be published. That was a lot longer than I thought. I thought I could whip this thing out in 1 year, but it's definitely hard work to get the book across the finish line. So I am very proud that it's out there now.
As you should be. All right. And clearly, your book is impacting so many readers, and, they're calling to action to combat the sexism, creating, way too much pain for too many people. Can you tell us a little bit more about some of the responses you're getting from the book?
Well, as I said, some readers are getting frustrated or triggered at the many strategies, that I write in there.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like I get knocked down. And my friend was like, "Oh, sometimes I'm so sad for you." As I said, my 86-year-old mom, read the book and had a tough time realizing what a tough job I had for so many years. But I just want to say that I do love the military. I love my life. I had a very good career, and I'm proud of that service. And my grandkids were over this weekend. They're 9, 10, and 12, and they actually are pretty proud that Mima is a soldier. So is Grampy.
Oh,
And I was telling them stories about, they've heard the story before, when I was a warrant officer candidate, and how you have to sit up straight during training. You have to sit up straight, take one bite, chew it, swallow it, wipe your mouth, and take a drink. That's how you have to eat your entire meal. It's very, very disciplined. And then,
didn't know that. Okay.
yeah, they wanted to play that game because at some points the TAC officers would say pig rights, which means you can eat as fast as you want for 5 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
So they were having fun with that, and my grandson kept requesting permission to speak. So it was really, really funny. And we were doing, drill and ceremony, marching out in the driveway. So they are proud. And although, I am bringing to light a very daunting subject, that is everywhere, not just the military.
Yeah.
I do want to remind us all that there's more good than negative in the world. And
Beautiful.
the military is an excellent career opportunity for people. But there is some things that we need to fix.
Yeah, and there's a lot of good stuff going on as well as challenges, as you made that clear. Did you have a new review that you wanted to share with us too?
Yeah. So back to the reality of sexism continuing in the workplace. I wanted to share at least one review from a couple of reviews from professional women who they never served in the military. There are many reviews who are encouraging all leaders to read the book as a way to counteract sexism in the workplace. And so they believe that understanding the reality, you can help dissuade those sort of activities that might be going on. But the one I wanted to read is from my sister. She just retired like 2 years ago, but she spent 34 years in one company. And it's a very male-dominated type of business. It's a building products distributor. And this is what she wrote. I'm trying not to cry. I finished your book. I gave you a review on Amazon. Great ending. I agree, sexism will always be with us, but if we fight for equality, it will diminish. We all have a passion. I feel like I fought every day at my job. My motto was, I stand on the side of truth. Sometimes I thought I would be fired for it, but God protected me. Often I felt like I was swimming upstream, but when I left, I resolved that maybe I made it easier for the next person. All I know is that when I started, the leadership was all white men. When I left, it was a diverse group of ethnic people, both male and female. It took 34 years to see that happen.
Wow.
And still there is sexism in that company. Perhaps another 34 years, we'll see even more change. You did good, sister. You helped me stay and fight the fight.
Beautiful. So powerful. So kind.
I hope we caught, though, what she said, that there's still sexism there. And
Sure
so,
is.
even though she carved out a path and she helped, people that were following behind her,
Yep.
I don't want to wait another 34 years for
No.
gender equality in businesses like that. So there is work to do. And it really is about, again, just first of all, saying it out loud that, we're not bad people because we have bias, because we, project some stereotypes on people, but it's what we do with that bias and how we be intentional and be inclusive with people who are different than us. And especially when we spend 2,000 or more hours a year at a work center, it's important to treat people fairly.
I agree. Absolutely. My goodness. Well, can we maybe ask another review? I'm sure you have plenty more. Is there anything else that you wanted to share?
Well, I really like reading them, of course, because they're just very humbling to me. But this one is from a mother of a female combat veteran. She was a former senator, former Vermont senator, an attorney, an executive with Fortune 100 companies, as well as consulting, specializing in turnarounds for small to mid-sized businesses. So she knows the business world. And she writes, I didn't expect to be so drawn into this book. From the beginning all the way to the end, Chief Warrant Officer Sumner has a compelling story to tell. This is not just about the military. If you're a woman or a man, you should read this book. We've all dealt with sexism at one point or another. The question, how much sexism are we willing to tolerate? At this point, should be none. But sadly, that is not the case. Not in the military, not in the halls of power in government, or in the halls of commerce or private industry. This book is for the brave among us who are willing to hold the mirror up to power brokers and tell them enough is enough. This book is for courageous leaders in the military, in corporate America, and in government. Life at Camp should be assigned mandatory reading for the top 20% of leadership in every organization. Every manager should read this book. Thank you, Chief Warrant Officer Sumner, for shining the light on the ism no one wants to talk about.
Ooh, the ism. I like that. Oh,
Yeah.
sexism. Beautiful. And I mean, let me just ask, you've been working so hard promoting this book, and it, sometimes is an ism that no one really wants to talk about because it could be uncomfortable. Like you said, right? There's a lot of good, so much, more fun to talk about. And of course, the kids being silly, but there's a need for work of diversity and in the consulting business that you can do. So remind us a little bit about Empowering Opportunities LLC and what they could do for companies who recognize gender bias, that it's really causing problems. I'd appreciate that.
Yeah, well, I just, again, promoting that diversity consulting companies, diversity education companies can tailor to what your business is, the size of your employees, the type of interactions you do. And I think it takes courageous leaders to say, there are some things that are impeding our performance, they're impeding our retention, they're impeding our recruiting. And so if you're a business who hasn't been able to recruit and retain women, and you bring women on and then they leave because they're not happy with the culture, there are some things that you can do. So hiring, empowering gender opportunities, and maybe having a seminar, maybe having a facilitated group discussion. I talk a lot about the lean-in sessions, which is really just a circle of employees sitting around and just talking about some of those things that bother them and keep them from feeling like they're equals. And so that's why I think that if you're a leader of a company, if you're a supervisor or a manager, and you are seeing challenges with gender equality, consider hiring a diversity company.
Beautiful. I agree. And I really got to commend you on this. And it's all about ego.com. You can go right to the website to purchase the book. And, really that you're pushing and promoting gender equality with the book. I hope everyone checks it out. Do you have any upcoming book signings this week that we should know about in your area?
Yeah. Well, I'm like I said, promoting oneself is quite a full-time job, but we'll see at the local fairgrounds again, which is kind of fun. A lot of the local vendors and everything getting this big studio. So I look forward to talking to people, engaging with people about their interest in the book or their experiences, especially veterans. And that's where I'll be this weekend in Essex Junction, Vermont.
Perfect. Thanks so much for being here, for joining us, and looking forward to we get to connect again. Is it next week?
Yep, next
All
week.
right. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Have a fantastic day. Thanks for being here. Great to see you live and in person on the Zoom. It's all about ego.com, Life at Camp. Check it out. Go for the read. And wow, it's fascinating. And again, I love the book cover. Thanks for sharing that with us too. And the backstory behind it and how she nailed it, right? Exactly what you were feeling. Yes. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.